Coming up this week on Beyond the Vibe, we're joined by Wayne Doyle, frontman of Scarlet Rebels.
All my favourite bands are all the singers are all playing instruments. So like Bruce Springsteen and E Street Band, Tom Petty, the frontmen that I've always looked up to as songwriters and people that I listen to their music. I was using the working titles to try and frame like a story in my head.
That's really interesting, mate. It's like you're playing your own sort of weird game show where you kind of giving yourself like a topic to work around, and then you. So it was a real.
Yeah. I remember coming home from school one day, and I was just saying to my parents, really randomly, I just said, I want to learn to play the guitar. And they went, all right, okay. And when I came home from school the following day, there was a guitar waiting for me, and I was like, whoa, what, you know, that never happened. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I did try it like a few days after, like, I really want like this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or something, and I came home from school and it weren't there, and I was like, all right.
The show that cuts deep into the world of music.
My name is Aaron Day, UK guitarist in These Wicked Rivers, and I'm here, music videographer and photographer. It's Mr. Racy.
It is. It's an interesting start.
It took me 9 hours to work on that. A lot of screams, a lot of internal and external screams, but I feel that the delivery and the product that I've just given you is worth everything, because you're paying me £50 for that introduction, aren't you?
Am I? Right. What have you been listening to this week?
Nice little segue away from paying me.
Speaking of £50,
probably what you'd have to pay to get the new Maiden album Senjutsu as a deluxe package with vinyl or something. But yes, I've been listening to the new Maiden album. We've obviously we did an extra vibe a while ago where we ranked the albums.
Yes,
it's Pret won it, man. And I think one of the biggest things I took from that was how immense Maiden's back catalogue is. You know, particularly like the modern albums like Dance of Death, Brave New World, for me, just completely up there. Where do you rate Senjutsu?
Where do I rate Senjutsu? I listened to this album, and for me, it's like a continuation of that Book of Souls vibe. I think it's superior to Book of Souls, but I still have problems with it. I think that some of the songs are a bit too long.
Yep.
I think I have an issue with on quite a few of the tracks. Bruce just basically sings to the melody of the song, and for those kind of reasons, and I think it lacks a bit of riffage, as you say.
Riffage.
Yeah, riffage.
French version.
So yeah, I think for those reasons, it's probably. I say it's far down on the list, but there's
it's a good list.
There's a lot of great albums on that list, so I would put it above Book of Souls, but obviously we did in the ranking we did put Book of Souls quite low.
Yes.
It's of the last like 20 years, so that post Brave New World kind of era, I would say that it's probably like second bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not completely my cup of tea. I think that's the issue, because it has kind of prog elements in there, and where it keeps reprising on itself, like the guitar tones and stuff. It keeps coming back, whereas I want a bit of progression. I want some variation in there, and for me it didn't quite have that.
No, I think you've articulated that well. I mean, there's a lot of things in that I agree with. I definitely feel it's a continuation of Book of Souls. I think it's better than Book of Souls.
Yeah.
For me, it's better than Final Frontier. But I do think I said to you off screen, I think it needs a warning sticker on it. Warning, like, to appreciate this album, you're going to have to listen to it probably in two halves and multiple times. And that's kind of how I've been wrestling with it. Is that I've kind of been listening to it whilst driving, because I do a lot of driving, and each time I listen to it I'll kind of stop in the middle and go back to the songs that I can remember thinking, oh, that was interesting. And the first 5 or 6 songs I really enjoy. I agree there's points where, I mean, my biggest thing I take from the album is that I feel that the vocal melodies I don't remember as much as the actual musical content. Like when the songs reach that awesome point where you get Dave and Adrian and Yannick all doing these, the standard Iron Maiden sort of harmony things, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm going, oh, this is awesome, but I'm not recalling a lot of Bruce's vocal melodies or choruses. Like, it doesn't feel like a chorus album.
Yes,
me,
I think that's it. Like, I love a good, strong Iron Maiden chorus. And apart from Writing on the Wall, I don't think there is one, from my opinion anyway.
I think Strategio's got one, the second single.
Yeah.
I feel like I can recall that chorus. I mean, as I say, it reminds me a lot of when we listened to the most recent Greta Van Fleet album.
Yeah.
Because because the single was so strong with My Way Soon, Writing on the Wall, single's very strong, very driven, a bit rockier than most of the album. It sets this false precedent, and I think everyone gets very excited for a vibe that's not really there, you know, because the Maiden album's very progressive and a lot of drawn out songs, and it's the nature of a single, it's there to pull you in and excite you.
Yeah.
But it does kind of set you up. So I think when you listen to the album, there's almost that little bit of, this is a bit disappointing, because I was expecting, you know, this really driven sort of, you know, different rock album. But as you spend time with it, like with the Greta one, I think the songs open up and do develop personalities. It just might take a bit more time than some other albums. It's definitely nowhere near as accessible as like Dance of Death or
like if you're a young kid that's getting into metal music or rock music or whatever,
this is not the album.
That would be a tough album to start with for Maiden.
This is a seasoned Maiden fan album. This is probably an album for both of our fathers.
Yeah, it feels like an album for that kind of, maybe the original generation that first got into them. It's just not my taste. But hey ho, I would still recommend people to go and listen to it if you like Iron Maiden, because you know, it's their 17th album, which, you know, at this point, you know, to still be coming up with ideas in the first place is probably still an achievement. But check it out and see what your own thoughts are. I mean, comment below. You know, what guests do we have this week?
This week we have the lead singer, Mr. Wayne, from Scarlet Rebels. Another Welsh outfit.
Yes, of course. Recently signed to Earache.
And we've had a few Earache.
Yes.
Earache, get in touch. You know what I mean? We're sorting you out here. Get involved. I mean, I think they've most recently played with another one of their Welsh and Earache friends, those damn Crows at Cardiff Castle. Which looked like a killer gig.
Yeah, it did look exciting.
I think one of the things I took from Wayne's interview was that feeling of desire, like with most people we chat to get back to gigging and get that excitement back. You know, obviously the band signed the deal sort of in the middle of lockdown, and it's just that feeling of wanting to go out there and move forward. You know, he spoke about when they were on their previous label and them kind of wanting to do the same routine, and the band wanting to do something different to move forward and progress, and all of that for me is about gigging. A lot of it goes into the label and the PR, but you know, for a band to really go out there, you've got to do it in front of people and show that that's where you stock to, and I think Scarlet Rebels, that's exactly the sort of band that they are.
Yes, and you can hear all about that now.
So we're here with Wayne, lead singer of Scarlet Rebels. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Yeah, we're all right, aren't we?
Good.
Right, you're about our third one of the day.
Yes.
And obviously you're the...
Oh, wow.
We've wanted... You're the headliner.
Oh,
You know what I mean? We wanted to save the best till last time. So we're very, very thankful to have you here. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Now, one thing that we like to do on the show is we like to go right back to the origins of a musician. So with that in mind, when was the first time you remember hearing music and thinking, like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, probably in the car. My parents, they used to play like Queen Greatest Hits Volume 2, you know, the purple covered one.
Great album.
Yeah, so that's started really to float my boat. In terms of just like the melodies and the guitars and stuff, you know. So I don't think you don't tend to realize what it is at the time. It just seeps in, and so yeah, I remember that being the first sort of thing that you know really captured my imagination in terms of music and stuff. And then I got an older brother who started to bring sort of albums like Guns N' Roses and stuff into the house when I was younger, and I used to go into his room and steal the CDs and stuff. And just from there really. And then I remember coming home from school one day, and I was just saying to my parents, really randomly, I just said, I want to learn to play the guitar. And they went, all right, okay. And when I came home from school the following day, I think I was like 8 or 9 or something. When I came home from school, did I say work then? When I came home from school the next day, there was a guitar waiting for me, and I was like, whoa, what, you know, that never happened. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
That's like the shit, kind of shit that happens in films, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I did try it like a few days after, like, I really want like this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or something, and I came home from school and it weren't there, and I was like, no, okay. But yeah, no, they just went out and got me this like little cheap nylon string acoustic guitar, and obviously I didn't have a clue whatever. So I had lessons with a guy that just lived around the corner, and he taught me things like Apache and all this kind of thing. And it just got boring in the end because I wasn't really playing things that I wanted to learn. So it just kind of sat away for a little bit and sat on a shelf. And then when I got around 14, 15, I started to pick it up again, and started kind of getting interested in bands like Oasis and all that kind of thing. And then I joined a little band, from school, and it's been what I wanted to do ever since, really. So yeah, it's a long stretching kind of passion that still continues to this day, and it's got me into all sorts of financial difficulties and whatever else. And
we can resonate with that, don't we?
Yeah.
Which normally happens is normally the tale with vocalists that also play guitar. It always seems that the guitar comes first. The normal story we get is that when you start jamming in bands when you're a kid, or when it gets a bit more serious and stuff, you normally end up singing out of peer pressure. Was that the same thing with you, Wayne, or was it more of a passion?
Yeah. No, I never consider myself as a vocalist. To be honest with you, I still, I'm still kind of like thing about it anyway. I mean, in terms of singing and stuff. But I think so when I started as like a band sort of thing, so like it was like a school band, and it was just one of those things. It was just like my friend who also played the guitar was a lot better at the guitar than me. I could just play a few chords, and it's just always been my thing, really. I've just played chords and whatever. I was never good enough to be the lead guitarist, which is probably why I ended up, trying to find use for myself to be in a band. So yeah, I started to sing and I could hold a tune, and then just sort of learning what I could get away with vocally and stuff. It just kind of stuck. And then it was me that wanted to be the one that didn't want to sing other people's songs. So I'd start writing my own songs, and obviously to start with, they weren't very good. And then just as I've got older, and as the band sort of path has grown, it's just like the songs that I write, obviously they're my lyrics and stuff. So I've always been like, well, nobody's going to deliver them better than me, because I know what they're about and that kind of thing. So I've never kind of looked at myself as being an amazing vocalist or anything like that. But I've always just kind of thought I'm probably the best person placed to sing my own words. Do you know what I mean? So
100%. You're your own architect, aren't you? Because you can create it with yourself and your vocal range in mind. Like me and Rivers, me and Art will always have problems because I write as if he's like Robert Plant. He's fucking nowhere near that higher range. So I'll present him this and go on then, do the thing. And it really winds him up, because when he writes songs, he can cater it perfectly for his sort of range, and imagine it's himself. And if you look through the history of rock and roll and different musics, you can be an amazing singer-songwriter, because you can cater it perfectly for what you want it to convey. And I imagine that creative freedom's quite, it's the biggest pull for you as a songwriter.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I kind of like to set my sort of thing in it, is like, obviously I'm recognized as the singer of Scarlet Rebels, but I kind of see myself as the songwriter, as opposed to, because like I say, it's not for me to say whether I'm there's so many more much better vocalists around on the scene than I am, but so yeah, but it definitely was something that there was just a microphone stand, the first ever rehearsals I was ever involved in, with a mic on, and everybody just kind of went, well, you're the one doing the least, so give it a go. So I was like, oh, okay. So it just kind of happened like that, really. So yeah, but it's a good channel, to express your, to get the the frustrations out or whatever it is, to get those sort of cathartic to do, to sing and stuff. So yeah, it's good that it's helpful. Yeah. So
no, it's cool. Yeah. So the band came together in 2008, kind of from where you are now. Obviously, the band has grown sort of significantly. It was a particular moment for you, Wayne, where you look back and you think, you know, whether it be a practice or a certain song or a gig, where it was like, this is changing now. This is going to be something good and better than what we've all done before. Just a certain moment you can think of.
Oh man. So I think the thing that really changed was when we changed the name of the band. So obviously we used to be a band called Void, and I've spoken about this so much that I don't really want to go down that path.
That's cool.
But like, you know, there are so many bands called Void that we couldn't separate ourselves out from everybody else.
Yeah.
And we did. We changed the name of the band to Scarlet Rebels, and then things started to pick up. In terms of gigs, we did the introducing stage on in the Giants of Rock in Butlins.
Yeah, we played that years ago, man. Yeah.
And I think it was just a bit of a defining moment, really. It was the first gig of the year that we did in 2019, and we were scheduled to have our album coming out that year and stuff. And we'd done a few gigs prior, like just 2 or 3 weeks before. In the middle of December, we drove up to Dundee and we did a gig in front of 7 people, which was 5 people were the other band, and there was 2 people who paid to come in, and it was snowing, and it was just the worst.
Yeah.
You know, like Dundee from Wales, like it's literally a whole day's drive. Do you know what I mean? So we went to play to 2 people, and it was just like, oh man. And it's hard to justify. I mean, it's hard to justify when that's going on. And then we did the first gig of the year in the January, which was about 3 or 4 weeks later, and it was this Giants of Rock introducing stage in Butlins, and the room was packed, and we managed to win it, which meant that we came back the following year to play the main stage and stuff. And just the whole we had a night's accommodation, and we just walking around and met loads of really cool people, met cool bands and stuff, and so that, I think that would have been that kind of moment that you kind of think, actually, there is an audience for the kind of music that you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's been, but pretty much since the name of the band changed, it's been a lot easier to get into people's psyche, because, you know, people can find you now rather than digging through 1,000 bands called Void to kind of separate which one it is that they saw last night, whatever, you know. So
cool.
So with the upcoming album See Through Blue, which is out at the end of January next year, when you had the collection of songs decided and walked into the studio, did you have like a certain vibe that you wanted to achieve with the record? And like, if so, how did you go about it?
So the album, the way we wrote it was totally different to what we would have, or the way that we wanted to write it. So we had to write and record an album by the end of last year. So we were going around. We were on tour at the time. We did we were on the Rising tour with Revival Black, and we were kind of writing compositions of songs in between sound checks and rehearsals and stuff. And then obviously the lockdown happened. So all that kind of, you know, we didn't see each other. We literally didn't see each other and stuff. So we knew that we had this sort of date that we needed to get the album finished by, but, you know, we weren't able to rehearse and all that kind of thing. So that was a date that wasn't moving. But yeah, everything else was just impossible to maneuver around. So I just started to write a bunch of songs, like basically kind of with what was going on, you know, in the world and stuff, and what I was seeing in terms of, you know, the government refusing to feed, you know, the kids and stuff, and then ended up, you know, a footballer having to get involved to try and shine a light on it for them to backtrack, and all the stuff about the PPE, you know, all the government people having, you know, giving contracts to their buddies and stuff, and all that kind of thing really pissed me off. So I sort of sat around writing sort of not angry sounding songs, but the lyrics are quite pointed in some of the songs off of it. Also, because we've got 2 other members of the band that like to contribute to the writing of the songs, we booked a studio time that we were recording in, and I just said to them, anybody that's got any songs that you want to write, come down and do, and just lay the basis of the song down onto a click track, so then we can start working on it. And obviously, because we were still in lockdown, and in Wales, we were in lockdown longer than anybody else, I think. Yeah, we were only allowed in the studio a few at a time and stuff, so each one of us went in. So I think we had a 3-day period to start with, and then like a few weeks before we started recording properly. So I went in on one day and I wrote and I recorded all my songs to a click track, and then 2 of the boys came in and did compositions of songs then, and they put those songs down towards a click track, and then we started to build them up from there. So I had like a bunch of songs which I'd never heard before in terms of the music and stuff was brand new, so all that was built up. And then I took the demos of those songs back, and I wrote lyrics and sort of melodies and stuff to a track which was basically which was formulated already. So that was new. I'd never done that before. So all the theme, kind of the way we wrote it was slightly different, but the theme was obviously all inspired by what everybody's put up with for the past 18 months really. So
I imagine that was a really interesting, like, creative process. Like, how did you find like your inspiration for that kind of? Because normally in a practice room, somebody will bring a riff. You'll kind of bring different ideas. Whereas obviously you're just being given songs that you've never really heard before. Were you inspired by that to kind of have something to build upon, or was it quite difficult for you to kind of having that different process?
It was hard. I wouldn't say it was hard. It was challenging because, like I said, I've never done it before, and I think the idea, what we wanted to do was kind of do the writing process together, so that we'd all jam a song out, and then we'd go, right, everybody knew what the song was, and then we'd go into the recording studio, and then I would put, like a vocal line and lyrics down on top of it. But, a lot of the songs that Josh and Chris wrote, so the music of it, those songs were just literal compositions until the day that I went in and did the vocals for them, because nobody heard what it was that I had it going on in my head or anything. So there were little things that I was kind of using to spark the imagination of. So Chris named the first single off the album title was called Storm. So he just used that as a track. He called it as a title track as well as like a working title. He just called it Storm. We were like, what do you want to call it? And he just went, I'll call it Storm. So I was like, I'll just try and frame reference that into the lyrics. And so that's where that came from. And then there were little things like Josh wrote this song, and he wanted to call it Hemel because he wrote the song when he was living in Hemel Hempstead. So then I took that and wrote it around the lyrics around basically like a sort of love story about 2 people who meet in Hemel Hempstead bus station, and I called the song London Story. So I was using the working titles to try and frame like a story in my head.
That's really interesting, man. It's like you're playing your own sort of weird game show where you kind of giving yourself like a topic to work around, and then so it was a real great test for you as a lyricist,
I mean like the ones that I'd written were like ones that obviously I'd kind of if I was writing it and like a word would fall out that I'd frame it around that. And then I wrote a song called I Can Sleep Now by so I was watching the show Afterlife. I don't know if you've seen it with Ricky Gervais on Netflix. And there's a scene where he watches his wife who's passed away on like an iPad or something. And she's saying to him, come on, say it or something. Or, if you say it, then, so he says to the iPad, I love you or something like that. And then she replies to him by the iPad, I can sleep now, or no, I can sleep or something. And I really liked that kind of reference. So I thought, I just noted in my phone as a note, and then I went to sleep. And weeks later, I was like looking for something, and I used that then as another reference point to write. So I kind of do that, like use things that kind of make me go, oh, that's quite nice, and then I'll formulate like almost like a story in my head about what that could or couldn't mean, and that kind of thing. So yes, it's just kind of how it works, really.
When it comes to gigging this new material, are there any songs that you're particularly looking forward to playing live? Any for fans to look out for?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the whole thing, really, because we've only doing the one which is the single at the moment, Storm, but obviously we've got like a bunch of new material to tuck into, but we're still not allowed to play it live. So so it's going to be nice when we've got the ability to just change the setup every night. But yeah, there's a few good sing-alongs and stuff in there. So yeah, there's a few good ones that I'm looking forward to implementing and swapping things around. Yeah, so it's going to be good. Yeah.
What's the reaction been like when you played the single live?
Yeah, it's been all right. I think we've only had like 2 or 3 gigs. So we debuted it in Love Rocks, and we were. I don't think anybody realised, but we messed up the end of the song, and I was just like, "Oh, God's sake!" Because we were all like, "Yeah, we're playing a new single. You're going to be the first people to hear it," and then at the end, we were all like, "Oh, God!" But but it's gone down all right. And it's quite singable as well. I mean, it's quite memorable as a song, so it's gone down all right. Yeah, it's gone down good. So yes, it's been everything's been positive, since we've started, since everything's lifted and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh, nice one, man. Obviously, you mentioned about Earache kind of advising around the track listing and kind of giving their expertise. For those that aren't aware, how did the whole Earache did they come and approach you guys, or did you kind of pitch to them? How much can you kind of give to the fans on how that all came about?
Yeah, so excuse me, it's not COVID. So what happened was we sort of started speaking to them a while back, and they came to see us on one of the Rising tour shows we did. And then off the back of that, COVID happened, so nothing really ever got as far forward as we wanted to. So we thought, the door was closed on it, really. And then, so we were currently signed to a record label in Greece called Rock of Angels Records, and we were contracted to 2 more albums with them, and we had to deliver the album by the end of the year, which is why we were under the pressure to finish the album by the end of last year. So what happened was we started to speak to them to kind of go, this is going to be quite important, I think, towards the career of the band. We don't want to release. So we released our first album, Show Your Colours, with them, and obviously it did great. We've sold a fairly decent amount, and it got us like a stepping stone, up to bigger gigs and stuff like that. But I just kind of felt that they wanted to repeat the same process, as in, that market it the same, whereas we were like, we would like it to be more, to have like a longer pre-order campaign, so that we can try and get as many pre-orders in as possible, just to make the result of it tangible, that we could perhaps use it as like a base camp for something to try and move on to the next. I just didn't see the point in repeating, not that it was a mistake, but I just thought us doing the same marketing campaign as we did with Show Your Colours would just yield the same results. Yeah. And they weren't on the same page with us about it. So when the album was finished, I was just thinking, I just didn't want to go through those same steps, and then and then in a year's time we did okay. It sold a couple of 100 copies, maybe 1,000 copies physically, and then had a few thousand streams on Spotify, but actually the band hasn't moved on anywhere. Yeah. So we just kind of asked them, look, we're not on the same page in terms of marketing. Can we, basically, get out the contract? So we agreed that with them, and then once that was agreed, we shopped it around, and we gave it to a few labels, and Earache had come to see us play before, and we were like, look, we're not under contract anymore. We're free, to give this to anybody that's interested in working it. And they listened to it, and then they really liked the idea of it, and the concept that that the songs are based around, the whole C2 Blue thing, and they got on board. So they made us an offer, and we agreed, and that's it really. And then it's just gone from there. And obviously they've given us the opportunity to market it as long as we are, which is a fair old marketing campaign, but it just means that we're giving ourselves the best chance of any sort of success, whether that's a top 100 album, top 20 UK rock album, whatever it is. It's something that I just feel we need to to pin down to just to put something, to get something tangible from the release. Yeah, so
no, definitely, man. I mean, it seems like, as you said, I feel it as well with Me and the Boys in Rivers. You want to progress and feel like each time you get to an album, you're going up a few steps, and Earache feels like it's 100% that lift. I mean, we've seen the good friends in Dust Coda, obviously Wagons, and Crows as well, are all on Earache. So it feels like it's a natural sort of base for new wave of classic rock bands such as yourselves to have that next lift up to what the album deserves. So no, I imagine for you in particular, because you were really driving for it and pushing for it, it felt like it was what the album deserved and what the band deserved overall.
Yeah, it was nice to because we wrote like a kind of political song on the first album called Heads in the Ground, and the label that so Rock of Angels didn't want to put that on the album originally because it was political, and I was like, I've written a whole album pretty much slagging off the Tories, so you're not going to like this, so there was that as well.
Now, obviously, as you say, you've been going back to gig in with Love Rocks Festival and a few different things. I mean, I don't know about you, I had to kind of took me a few gigs to get back into the groove of it. Trousers are a bit tighter, like that. One of the things we chat to musicians and artists about is the kind of their character on stage. And I think when you're a vocalist but you also play guitar, it can be difficult sometimes because you kind of balancing between them two things. You've got to be a frontman and command, the stage and show that part of your character as well as being a guitarist and serving that purpose. How do you find that in terms of with Scarlet, in terms of putting across your identity as a frontman? Is there any inspiration you draw from other singer guitarists? Or do you just go out there and just let it be natural?
Well, the first thing is that having the guitar just helps me stop doing stupid things with my hands. So I probably end up looking like a T-Rex on stage or something, to be honest with you, if I didn't have my guitar. So I just don't know what to do with my hands. So, but yeah, I think it just gives me a point of focus really to just, I just like to smash it as hard as I can. And all my favorite bands are all the singers are all playing instruments. So like Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, Tom Petty, they all the front men that I've always looked up to as songwriters and people that I listen to their music are all ones who've played an instrument as well. I like the inspiration with Tom Petty though, man, because I feel that's very similar. Like I see Tom Petty as a songwriter, and then I couldn't imagine him just being at the front without his guitar. And I imagine what you were saying is very similar to Tom when he was kind of finding that. So I think that's a nice, easy inspiration, to draw from. And that's it. I think that's from where my inspirations and songwriting kind of thing has come from. Has been bands like that, so and individuals like that. So
Now we like to kind of throw some weird questions at artists. So hypothetically, for Scarlet Rebel's next album, you've got a gun to your head. You've been told that you have to do another genre. What would that genre be?
Gangster rap.
Quickest answer in the world. Done. Sign it off. What's the album called?
I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
Has there ever been any genre that you thought I'd love to give this a go? Maybe
I think what I would love to do is to have the. It's not something that I want to, because it's something that I at some point I will do, even if it's for myself. When it's just for me, that nobody ever hears it, but it's something 100% I will do. So to do a singer-songwriter kind of folky kind of album along the lines of Tom Petty's Wildflowers, or I really like Jason Isbell. His album Southeastern is amazing. There's a guy that Travis Meadows that Earache re-released his Killing Uncle Buzzy album, which is where I heard it from. And that's really good. It's just storytelling, really stripped back, but with really subtle kind of instrumental, steel guitar and all that kind of thing. I'd really like to do something like that. But what I don't want to do is do that and, whilst Scarlet Rebels are a thing, because I don't, I'd rather concentrate on that. And if that just stops naturally, then I think about something else. But that's something I've always been interested in doing, just to have like a really stripped back, not so loud and proud melodic, not hooky kind of looking, just for more subtle kind of songwriting style. Yeah,
that's cool, man.
Yeah,
very much my taste as well. I love anything like that, particularly with the, like you say, the slide guitar and sort of the resonator type stuff. I think it's a real big market for it, and it's just fucking badass. So obviously, if people want to see you at some gigs coming up for the rest of the year, what gigs have you got planned?
So this weekend, depending on when this is going out, we're playing Cardiff Castle with those damn crows on Bank Holiday Sunday, which is this coming Sunday. That's what we're filming now. Yeah, so that's going to be amazing. And then we've got gigs in St Austell's Band Club, and also in Fuel Rock Club in Cardiff.
Cool.
So the 17th we're in St Austell, and then the 25th we're in Fuel. We've got gigs in Leo's Red Lion in October. We've got Nozfest Light or Noz Light in November. We've got a few HRH gigs coming up, and then we're going on tour with Buckcherry towards from the end of November into December. So I think we've got gigs in, pretty much a few. I think it's 2 weeks worth. Going all over the UK, bar Scotland. We keep getting reminded every time we were posted up. Oh, there's no gigs in Scotland. It's like, well, I didn't book the gigs, so
shouldn't have done that way.
Yeah, I know.
That, man.
Yeah, so we got a few, and then next year we're going to be announcing I think it's in September. We've got a tour booked to coincide with the release of See Through Blue next year. So we're going to be. Yeah, we're going to be out for that as well. So, so
amazing.
Yeah, it's all going to be positive, but it's all on scarletrebels.com. So have a look and see which ones anybody can get to, and it'll be cool.
That's one, man.
Now, one question that we like to finish the show on: if you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be?
Oh man, alive! The past. From the past, Queen, I think, would be a good one, wouldn't it? They'd be good.
A lot of people have picked Queen.
Yeah. Queen, Nirvana, maybe. Queen, probably. I think we're probably more in that genre as opposed to Nirvana. They're a bit heavier than what we do. I wouldn't want to have like bottles of piss being lobbed at. And then nowadays, I'm a massive Bruce Springsteen fan, so Bruce Springsteen E Street Band would be my choice. But I think if we had to do a choice based on everybody in the band, there would probably be somebody like the Foo Fighters or something like that. Yeah.
That'd be a good match.
Yeah. But yeah, anybody we literally play with anybody. We've played with metal bands with just to get our name up there. So yeah, we'll do anything. We're cheap and we'll do anything.
that's the overall message. No, that's cool. I like that. So we've got Scarlet Rebels opening.
Yeah.
And then we've got then Foo Fighters, and then potentially Foos, and then at the top we've got Queen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong lineup.
It's a strong lineup, Wayne. I think it'll be. I think
that's a strong lineup. That's a strong lineup without us.
No, we were only on about it because of you.
So let's not pretend there. We're like those gigs are sell out without us. So we'd just be like the ones who just I don't know selling the merch in the back.
People would be like, we've only come for Scarlet Rebels.
We'd only come for you, and then we'd fuck off.
Yeah.
Bollocks to Food. I mean, if it's like post 1980 Queen, and bollocks to them and all. So,
Yeah.
We're under the bus.
We're just there for you, Wayne. No, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. For those that
thanks for having me on.
No, really appreciate it. For those that haven't pre-ordered a Scarlet Rebels new album, what are you doing? You can do that on earache.com. And as Wayne said, make sure you go to scarletrebels.com to check out all the dates for the rest of the year. That Buckcherry tour in particular in November is going to be killer. We'll try and get down for that definitely because we like the Buckcherry album as well. Yes. And that'd be a great tour for you boys. And yeah, thanks for your time, Wayne, and we'll see you on the road soon.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks guys. Take it easy. See you soon.
So yes, that was Wayne from Scarlet Rebels. I enjoyed that, man. My standard response to after every interview. I know that, man. But I did. I mean, we've gigged. We've only gigged on the once when we supported them on the Planet Rock Rising tour when they played in Nottingham. They were with Rival Back, and both of the bands kind of blew me away with kind of, the level they were both at, particularly Scarlet. And I like the way that Wayne kind of spoke about his influences being more that singer-songwriter thing, because you wouldn't expect that from sort of the sleazy sort of bluesy rock band. It's something that if I was a singer and played guitar, they're the sort of people I feel inspired by, the Tom Pettys and the Bruce Springsteens, because I think it's more about the songwriting and telling a story, which is very much seems how Wayne tries to put a song together.
It's interesting hearing that kind of process, because it's I've always thought it would be like you talked about, he ended up as a singer essentially because he was writing the lyrics.
Yeah, which is weird. Normally you become a singer and then you start to write songs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of the reverse, isn't it, in many ways? But yeah, that was really cool. Obviously, they've got this big long run up to the upcoming album.
Well, it's what he wanted, wasn't it? And I think obviously that I like the fact that Earache have obviously took that into account. Because it seemed like he was really passionate about wanting a nice long amount of time to create a build up. Get everything lined up, and it must be a good album, man.
It must be, because they've been signed to Earache because of it, we've already seen other bands like Dust Coda have a similar kind of thing where they got signed.
Their
because
album
of that.
is smashing,
and their album came out and it was cracking.
Yeah,
so
smashing and cracking.
Exactly. So I think it bodes well.
No, I agree. Nice, a bit of a hypothetical to end the show with, right?
Here we go.
Obviously, Mr. Vasey, he fucking kills it on the Triangle. We know this. We respect his musical path.
Exactly.
If you could be offered the chance to be a frontman, right?
Here we go.
You can either be the Robert Plant, David Coverdale,
So this is like a Space Jam scenario where I steal people's ability.
Something like that. Yeah. We'll go with stealing ability. So you can either have the big high voice, but you can't. You're just a vocalist, or you can have maybe kind of a more understated voice, but you're a guitarist as well. You can be any level of guitar, so you've got more skills there. But when you've got that voice of like a Plant or a Coverdale, it's iconic. What would you pick?
That's a difficult one, isn't it? It is very. It's a very tough question. I think. Oh dear. Because obviously, if you're the guitarist / lyricist, you can potentially write an iconic song.
Yeah, you've got more control maybe in the band. Not that control's important, but maybe it is. I don't know. I mean,
it depends what you want, isn't it? For me, I think because I can't sing, I would be well happy if I could do like a Robert Plant.
Yeah, we got less to learn, like less to adapt to as well.
Yeah,
because suddenly you've got all these skills, but you've never done them before, like on a stage. Whereas if you've got your voice, you can just.
If I've just got that, I can just concentrate on that.
Less to go wrong.
Exactly, and I can just look cool.
Take years of work that will.
Yeah, I could just do that, but I can totally see why you'd want that kind of like. If you can make your own lyrics, as I say, make an iconic song potentially.
Definitely,
in the future.
It's completely different frontmen as well. Tom Petty was very understated but very iconic, and one of America's greatest songwriters. Whereas you look at someone like Robert Plant, you see them in a completely different light. It's more of a frontman, more of a performer, more of a both very iconic, but for completely different reasons.
It's interesting.
Nice little hypothetical to end the show on there.
Yes, of course, that is it for this week on Beyond the Vibe. If you like what we're doing, you can subscribe, obviously, and that'll keep you up to date with everything that we've got going on. We have a podcast out every Saturday from 10 a.m, and if you want to find out who that is that's going to be on the show, you can like our Facebook page, and we release a teaser trailer every Wednesday from 10 a.m, revealing who said guest is.
We do indeed. If you're new to the Beyond the Vibe family, make sure you click the bell, and then you'll never miss an episode of what we're doing. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, get over to YouTube, then you can see our ugly mugs.
And you can admire my lighting, because people are out there with eagle eyes, because I need to say this, right?
Oh, finally, about it. Oh boy.
20 episodes, but we've finally got the lighting correct to where it doesn't go up and down. So you can now see us in beautiful.
I'm
definition.
enjoying it more.
Yeah.
Just say
I am just seeing the monitor.
I know. If you're not happy with Ryan's lighting, please comment below. You have to comment a lot of times to get past my comments. You're very happy, aren't you?
I'm extraordinarily happy. More happy than probably what I should be. But
it's good you can acknowledge that, though. The first part of recovery is...
Yeah. It's been so long. But yes, if you like what we're doing and you like our lighting, we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week.